here for something else. Hello.
Hey, what's up?
What's up? What's up, brother? How's it going?
Good. How's it going?
Good, good, good. Are you a Christian?
Yeah.
Nice, man. Nice. First of all, sorry to hear that. How can I help you today?
Well, I mean, the topic was about Christianity's false, right?
Right.
Or was that just like a bait thing?
No, I think Christianity is false
We can
But that doesn't make any sense if you're Muslim because
because the
Muhammad came
Quran
to,
confirms the Torah and the Gospel. You see
well,
how
he
I know
came
you
to
like
be
the
the
back of my
final
head?
ring.
Yeah. So, how does that make Christianity true?
So he's finishing the revelation of a false teaching.
Well, he's not finishing the revelation of Christianity. Christianity has nothing to do with the revelation or the prophets or Jesus.
So why does he claim to know all the same prophets and claim to know Jesus?
Because Christianity stole the prophets of the faith of Abraham. Christianity is a man-made religion, mythical, dying, rising savior, man-god religion, cult. It's a Roman Greek cult based on many different mythologies mixed together with convoluted philosophical doctrines and dogmas. Has nothing to do with Jesus. Zero. Zilch. So yes,
All right, well,
Christianity is
we
false.
gotta start somewhere because I mean everything you just said is like wildly inaccurate. So like pick one.
Oh, okay. You pick. You pick. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Go ahead. You pick one. We'll talk about it.
I mean, what do you said everything. Like, I don't agree with anything you just said. You
Let's
said
go
like
with the
10
idea
different
of
things.
God, man. Let's go with the idea of
Okay.
God, man.
Yeah, let's go with that. Do you
Do
believe
you,
in a dying, rising savior, man, God?
Man, God?
Man,
Jesus was a
God.
human.
Right. And he was also God, right?
Right.
So that's a man God.
okay. How common was this view, Fogoth? Do you know how common this view was? Right, in these early Judaic provinces and cities?
Everyone thought he was God. People didn't agree with the fact that he was human.
No, how common was it to deify a man? How common was it by the thoughts of these Gentile Greeks? How common was this?
I guess I'd say it's pretty common.
Okay, do you know that Paul and Barnabas were deified by the Gentiles in Lycaonia?
And Lystra. Was
Yeah.
it Lystra?
No.
Lycaonia and Lystra as well, when
And
they're on their way
Lystra.
to Rome, when they're inhabited on an island. So in Acts chapter 14, verse 11 and 12, Paul does a miracle where he cures a man who's paralyzed from his legs down, a paralytic man, all right? A man who's paralyzed from his legs down, and Paul cures him, right? And the people start shouting, right? They start shouting out in the Lycaonian language, in the Lycaonian tongue, and they say, "The gods have come down to us in the likeness of men. The gods have come down to us in the likeness of men." And
What are you
Barnabas, they called
quoting?
Zeus,
Sorry.
Acts, the book of Acts, the fifth book of the Bible.
Acts
I'd say read it
chapter
slowly.
14. They called Barnabas and Paul gods in human form.
Yeah. Hermes and Zeus. So Barnabas was called Zeus, and Paul, because he was the chief speaker, was called Hermes. So Acts chapter 14, verse 11 and 12. So just think about this. And this is one of a plethora of different examples. All right? So just go to that verse if you want to already, and then I'll give you two more examples from the book of Acts.
Well, Acts 14 and 15 says, "But when
Acts.
the apostles Barnabas and Paul heard of it, they tore their garments and rushed out into the crowd, crying out and saying, 'Men, why are you doing these things? We are
Nice,
also men of
nice.
the same nature.'"
It's almost like Jesus rebuked and condemned and refuted those of the people who were deifying him as well. Right?
That wasn't the
It
point, though.
said they.
Yeah.
It
Yeah,
says
But
the
even
apostles Barnabas
yeah,
and Paul
he's,
heard.
he's, he's, he's,
They.
missing the point.
yeah.
The point is, it was only common for Greeks and pagans to think about man gods. It
Yeah.
wasn't common for first century Jews or Christians to think that there are man gods. That's why the apostles and even Paul himself, even the chief pagan himself, he even thinks that man gods are ridiculous.
Oh, so you appeal more to the Torah and the old Jewish like customs? Is that what's going on here? Because you're saying like the pagans and the Greeks, they messed everything up?
It's the Gentile Greeks by virtue.
That's what Jesus did. He says, "I've only come to the lost sheep of the house of Israel." And Paul says that Jesus was born under the law to save those under the law. And Jesus says that he has not come to abolish the law, He has not come to abolish the Torah or the prophets. He has come to fulfill the law, to be obedient to it. He says, until heavens and earth pass away, not a single iota will be removed until all things are accomplished. He says to obey the Pharisees and the teachers of the law and to do everything they tell you and to observe everything they tell you. So Jesus was a Jew who preached to Jews and followed and believed Jewish customs.
Yep. Worship like a Jew. Theology was similar to that of the Jews.
Went to synagogue like a Jew. Read the scroll of Isaiah like a Jew. What about Jesus makes you think of a pagan Greek or a demigod or a man god? What about Jesus? Well, where do you get that from, sir?
What do you mean? He's fully man and fully God.
Where did
Where'd
he
you get
say
this
that? Where do you get that from? He must have said
I
it,
and
right?
the Father are one.
He says, I and the disciples are one too. Doesn't make them God.
Yeah, but he's not talking about the disciples. He's talking about the Father.
So is
Are
he
you-
claiming co-equality with God in this verse?
Right, so follow. Being
Well,
one
that's
with
kind of
someone,
the point of the Trinity, isn't it?
you seem like a baby Christian. When we read a text, how do we understand it? Do we let the text talk, or do we let our preconceived notions explain what the text says?
You read the text.
You let the text talk. So you don't say Trinity, then read it and shoehorn into the text. You let the text tell you Trinity. So when Jesus says, I and the Father are one, nothing about that means man, God, and Trinity. Because Adam and Eve are one. The disciples are one. Heck, even the disciples and the Father are one, according to Jesus in John chapter 17. Paul and what was his name?
Apollos. So
He
maybe
says,
even one.
Paul and Apollos, he says, we are one. I could say you and me are one. It doesn't make us one human or one. It just means we're united in achieving the same accomplishment or having the same goals or being united in purpose or in will.
But what do you think it means if Jesus said that about God? If they are united in the same purpose and all that?
I'll tell you. He tells you himself, the Father sent me. I can't do anything on my own. My teaching is not my own. It's my Father's who sent me. The Father is the only true God. The true worshipers worship the Father in spirit and in truth. Our Father who are in heaven, hallowed be thy name. I go to my Father and your Father, my God and your God. I'm just a man telling you the truth that I heard from God. Everything about that tells us that he is not God. When he says, I and the Father are one, he represents the Father, and he is united in purpose with the Father because the Father sends and the Son is sent. And the Son teaches the doctrine of the Father.
Okay, so then, because I know obviously Muslims don't believe Jesus was crucified, but if you believe that Allah made it to seem so,
Forget that. That
Okay.
is secondary. We're talking about man gods right now. Is Jesus God? Let's figure that out first.
but that is directly relevant because that's why he was put to death.
Okay.
No, bro. Just
That's
because a
what
Jew accuses him of something doesn't mean that he's doing these things. Do you
That's
believe that the Jews,
correct.
if the Jews accused him of blasphemy, that means he's claiming to be God? If the Jews accused him of claiming to be God, does this mean that he's claiming to be God?
The Jews call him demon possessed. Does that mean he was demon
Yeah.
possessed?
Call his mother a fornicator. Does this mean she's a fornicator? Oh,
He
yeah.
says that they say he's a magician. Does that mean he's a magician?
So then why would they want to kill him? Why would they have to lie?
Because, but have you even read the trial of Jesus? The trial of
It's
the
been
high
a while.
priest? I'll tell you. In Mark, when Jesus is brought in front of the high priest for trial, it literally says they didn't find anything to find him guilty of. They had to bear false witness.
Yep.
Which tells you if he was claiming to be God, then that's all the reason in the world to find him guilty. But it says they couldn't even find him guilty Okay,
Wasn't that the Romans that couldn't find a fault in him? Because the Jews were the ones that were trying to put him to death?
that also happens. Okay,
Yeah.
but now we're talking about the trial of the high priests. Okay, with Jews,
Okay.
and then they say, Jesus, tell us plainly, are you claiming to be the Messiah? And he says yes. Then they find him guilty. So his sentence was because he claimed to be the Messiah.
But were already
That was
plotting against him. It has nothing to do with like the final trial. Like he wouldn't get to a trial unless they already believed that he was blaspheming.
right, and he was blaspheming because he claimed to be the Messiah.
Yeah. So he's making himself equal with John 5:18.
What the fuck, dude? How is being
He
the
was calling
Messiah
God his
claiming
own
to be
father.
God? Just wait, is God your father?
Like biologically?
Is he your father?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, he's claiming God is his own father. Let's just put him to death. Is that what you're telling me that happened?
Well, that was making himself equal with God.
That's not what he said. That's what they said.
Because that was the tradition back then.
What was the tradition? The
Let
Jews
me
called God
see.
Father, dude.
What was the tradition? Like
What
killing
what
anyone
what,
who
what
claimed to
tradition?
be like the Messiah, killing anyone who claimed to be the Son of God.
Let me see.
You got it, bro.
It's something about the original Hebrew, I think, or Aramaic.
Original Hebrew. Dude, the New Testament is written in Greek. By the way, Anne, you could just continue and I'll be right back.
All right, Sheikh. Okay. To Fogoth, what you first need to
Yeah.
understand, bro, is that if the Jews accuse Jesus of anything, remember, the Jews are notorious. They're notorious for unaliving their prophets. They're notorious, all right? In the Old Testament, the prophets talked about them. Elijah talked about them in 1 Kings chapter 19, verse 10, where he says that God, like, O Lord of hosts, the children of Israel, they have forsaken their covenant. They have slain their prophets with the sword, right? And they have thrown down thy altars. And he says, even I only am left, and they seek to take my life away. Right? This is in the Old Testament, in the book of Kings. Right? First Kings chapter 19, verse
Mm-hmm.
10. Right? In the as also in the Old Testament, the book of Chronicles, the second Chronicles chapter 36, verse 16. It talks about how the Jews kept on mocking and despising and scoffing at the prophets that were sent to them. Right? It's very common. The Quran condemns them for this. Jesus condemns them for this. In Luke chapter 13, verse 34 through 35, where he says, "O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, stoning the prophets that are sent to you." All right. So we have to think just because Jesus was trialed, just because Jesus was accused of specific things, doesn't mean that he did these specific things. Right? They accuse him of claiming to be God. It doesn't mean that he claimed to be God. They accuse him of doing magic. They accuse him of doing the works of Beelzebul in Matthew chapter 12, verse 22 through 32. This doesn't mean that he's doing the works of Beelzebul. It doesn't mean he's doing the works of the demon. He's doing the works, right, and the miracles that God has allowed him to do. Right? Every Muslim believes in this. Okay. They accuse his mother of fornication. They accuse his mother of basically having sexual intercourse prior to marriage. Right? And we know Mary conceived Jesus as a virgin. All right? She gave birth to Jesus as a virgin. All right? They accuse him and they accuse her in John chapter 8, verse 37 to 45. They say, we're born of Abraham and you're born of fornication. They mock him. All right? So anything that the Jews accuse him of doesn't necessitate that he claimed these things for himself or that he was doing these things. All right? That's first thing. And second thing, you have to understand, Fogo, right? How the Jews viewed their prophets, right? Time and time again, they despised, they mocked, and they scoffed at their prophets. How the Gentiles and the Greeks viewed these men who they hear stories of them doing miracles, right? Or they see a man doing a miracle, they would deify them. All right. We gave you an example from Paul in Acts chapter 14, verse 11 and 12, where Paul is called Barnabas. Paul and Barnabas are called Zeus and Hermes, right? They're compared to that of the Greek mythological tales, right? Another verse in the book of Acts, Acts chapter 28, verse 6. Paul is bitten by a snake, and the people are waiting for him. and like they're distressed on an island, and Paul's bitten by a snake, and the people are waiting and looking at him, and they're waiting for him to swell up. And when he didn't swell up and he didn't die and he didn't pass out, they changed their minds and they called him Theon. They called him a god. Okay? So what you need to understand is that historically, whether it be a Roman emperor, whether it be a governor, like Herod, who's called a god, these are the words of a god, right? The Greek Gentile people say these are the words of a god in Acts chapter 12, right? Whether it be Herod, whether it be that of a governor, whether it be that of Julius Caesar, whether it be that of Alexander the Great, whether it be that of a poet, a philosopher, a ruler, a warrior, whatever it may be. These people were deified historically by that of the Greek Gentile pagans, right? And it was like their mythology, it was their ideas. It was ideas that were running rampant, right? It was a theology that was being very prevalent. Like the gods have come down to us in the likeness of men. Same thing with Dionysus, same things with Mithras, same things with that of Attis, same things with that of Apollonius of Tyana, a poet who was deified by his people, right? So you need to understand that historically Jesus was falsely deified, falsely exaltified, and falsely like glorified to the extent of God, right? He never claimed this for himself, right? Nor did he want his people worshiping him. He didn't want his people
But
to worship him.
The Jews never killed people for lying. They killed them for speaking
The
uncomfortable
Jews, the Jews.
truths.
You need Elijah in the Old Testament, 1 Kings chapter 19, verse 10. He says, the children of Israel have forsaken thy covenant, slain their prophets with the sword, and thrown down thy altars. And even I only am left, and they seek to take my life away. In 1 Kings chapter 19, verse 10. Elijah, he's saying that the children of Israel are trying to kill him, right? Based on what? Based on what? He came to them and he told them to turn away from idol worship. And they're trying to kill him. They're trying to persecute him. They're trying to kill him, just like how they slain their prophets in the past. Jesus says, "O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, stoning the prophets that are sent to you," in Luke chapter 13, verse 34 through 35. Right? And the Quran mentions how Jesus
You
came.
know, you know what's funny? You know what's
Go ahead.
funny?
Go ahead.
Why was Stephen accused of blasphemy and killed in the book of Acts?
I don't
Mr.
know.
Fogart. Why did the Jews kill Stephen?
Mhm.
Because he said the temple was going to be destroyed by Jesus.
Yep.
That God was going to destroy the temple. Did he claim to be God?
No.
And the Torah says if somebody claims to be a prophet, you are to accuse him of blasphemy and put him to death. And that's what the Jews did. Jesus claimed to be a prophet, didn't believe him, they put him to death.
In
Allegedly.
Acts 7?
Yeah, Acts 6.
Let me see. You men, stiff-necked and uncircumcised in heart and ears, are always resisting the Holy Spirit. Which one of the prophets did your fathers not persecute? They killed those who had previously announced the coming of the righteous one, whose betrayers and murderers you have now become.
What are you talking about? Verse 11 to 14, brother.
Acts 7, 51 through 52.
Acts 6, 11 to 14.
When he was arrested before the speech in Acts 7. Acts 6, 10 to 11, but they were unable to oppose the wisdom and the spirit by whom he was speaking, Stephen. Then they instigated men to say, "We have heard him speak blasphemous words against Moses and against God."
Against who?
And against God.
Against
Moses
Moses.
and against God?
So you could blaspheme Moses?
They can blaspheme Moses?
Yeah.
Why are you asking me that? He just said, "We have heard him speak blasphemous words
Okay, so
against Moses and against God."
he blasphemed Moses and God. How did he do that? They're going to tell you. Keep going.
Acts 13 and 14, they put forward false witnesses who said, "This man never ceases speaking words against this holy place and the law.
Right.
For we have heard him say that this Jesus will destroy this place."
And will change the customs that Moses delivered to us. So his blasphemy was that he spoke against the temple and that he spoke against the law. And that was considered blasphemy.
But yeah, he wasn't lying.
What?
Like the Jews didn't just put people to death for lying. They put people
So
to
what
death
was his
because
blasphemy?
the truth hurts.
Yo, is this guy stupid or something?
It's because it's not what the Jews wanted to hear.
Did the Jews think Jesus was the true Messiah who's going to destroy the temple?
No, they rejected him. That's what they
Okay,
wanted, but
so his blasphemy was what? That he was uttering statements against the temple that they didn't believe, right?
uttering statements against the temple.
Right.
Oh, because of the rituals and the
Right.
righteousness, the false
It was a
righteousness.
corrupt place.
Right.
Yeah.
Which Jesus actually was indulging in those rituals. But Jesus was put to death because he claimed to be a prophet and a Messiah.
Okay. I mean, they prophesied Jesus. They said that he said this,
bro.
I'm who you've been waiting, but the Jews said, no, you're not it. They rejected him.
Hey, brother, why are you jumping now? You said they killed him because they thought he was saying he's God. Now it's something else. Can you stick on one thing?
Well, you're trying to convince me so hard that that's not the reason, so I'm going with your
Of
reasoning
course
that
it's not the
because
reason. It's not the reason anywhere in the text, dude.
All right, I'm going with
Of
your
course it's not the
reasoning.
reason. Of course it's not the reason. So where do you get the idea that Jesus is God? Or that he said he's God? Hello?
Oh, sorry. You want so John 8:58. Truly, truly, I say to you, before Abraham was, I am. That means Yahweh.
This is easy.
That
This is
doesn't
easy.
mean
It's not blasphemous. Yeah, I am. First of all, he uses the word ego eimi in John chapter 8, verse 58. Even if you want to go to the Septuagint, the Greek translated version of the Old Testament, you're going to get ego eimi, ho eimi, right? Ho eimi, just the one being. And God tells Moses in the Old Testament, to tell them, Ho Aimi has sent you. The one being has sent you. So first of all, I don't know why, but it seems like they forgot God's name with the Old Testament. In the Hebrew, it would be Ayah, Ased, Ayah. And even if we take all these statements within the Gospel of John, I am the way, the truth, and the life. I and the Father are one. Before Abraham was, I am. I am the Father, and the Father is in me. Even if we take all of these verses and we take them as historically reliable, even though John is first utilized by that of the Gnostics, and even if we take these statements to be reliable, we can understand this in a way that's not blasphemous. We can say that Jesus was saying, before Abraham was, right, I was already decreed to be the Messiah. I was already decreed to be this prophet, to carry on this specific task, to face the biggest fitna, right, that of the Dajjal, so on and so forth. We even have a hadith in Musnad Ahmed where the Prophet Muhammad says he was the Khatam al-Nabiyun. He was the seal of the prophets while Adam was still clay. Right? So we have a way of understanding this. That's not blasphemous. Even if we grant you everything, even if we grant you this gospel is reliable, even if we grant you he actually said this, right? Ego I me doesn't mean anything blasphemous. He could just be saying that before Abraham was, he was already decreed to be the prophet, decreed to be the Messiah. And the Jews, of course, they would get mad at this because they don't believe he's the proper Messiah.
Because Matthew and Luke tell us I am means that Jesus is claiming to be the Messiah. Did you know that? Fogod?
What did you say?
Hey, brother, are you paying attention or what are you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm paying attention. You
Get out of here. Get out of here.
Are you
dude.
talking about like the some
No,
say
it's
that
not.
who do they say the Son of Man is? And then he says,
No.
I am he. The Elijah, the prophets Jeremiah.
No. So in Matthew's version, Jesus says, beware, for many false prophets will come in my name, claiming, I am the Christ. Do not listen to them. Ego imi, I think ha Christos, or something like that. Anyways, ego imi Christos, right? Mm-hmm. Many will come in my name, saying, I am the Messiah. The way that Luke renders it is that many will come in my name, claiming, I am. Ego imi. Do not listen to them.
Yeah.
So according to Luke and Matthew, to say ego imi in a prophetic sense is to say that you're the Messiah.
Decreed to be the Messiah, anointed to be that of the Messiah.
Yeah. So that. But that guy is not even. He's in another world. So.
Yeah, bro. No challenges today, bro. Like, okay.
Yeah, but that's how it is usually, brother.